And what up, you guys? Welcome back to For Publications YouTube channel. It's me, Rich. Daily uploads to open up my own shop. And today I was reading about publishers and just given so many, facts that I wasn't aware of, and really started to read and understand the mechanisms that are put in place for gatekeeping to keep certain titles and certain creatives outside of the mainstream publishing. For sure, I want to get to some of those articles here on the channel. Definitely was reading about women publishers, because there seems to be a growing segment of publishers that are all females, as well as people of color, and some of the hurdles that they've been going through. And it just reminds me how a lot of spaces were predominantly kept a certain way, and as people come into it, there are those that always have to be kind of the pioneers, or the people that kind of break the mold, right? Or what people refer to as the unfreezing before the change, and then the refreezing. And so it just was very interesting for me to read about it, because I know that, because I want to exist outside the mainstream publishing, but for the folks that want to be inside of it, that can't be easy, right? It must be draining, right? Always trying to put that effort into, always putting that effort to then always have to battle to get just what other people get just given. And it just lets me know how important the work that publishers do, right? Because there was one article that I really do want to come through on, because it was about the Penguin Random House and the Simon and Schuster merger that basically was denied because it was viewed as a monopoly. They're two of the 5 big publishers. So for anyone that doesn't know, there's 5 major publishers. And those 5 major publishers are Penguin Random House, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Hachette, and Macmillan, or Pan Macmillan is the way I've heard it. But these 5 publishers, and then that article, basically, it was a research paper that was conducted, and in it they talked about the importance of diversity in literature, and how that lack of diversity for so long is what has created this false narrative of what it is, as far as lifestyles, right? So the article talked about LGBTQ community having always been excluded by the gatekeepers, how different characters that represent different lifestyles and different cultures have always as well been blocked. And the argument is always that it's not financially viable, and the reason why it's not viewed as financially viable is because no one had done it up until that point, right? So if it's going to be the first, everyone's going to say, well, it's untested, how do we know? But that's the point, that because the gatekeepers don't identify with the material, that's the reason why they won't adopt it. And that's the reason why a lot of the things that are published continuously look and sound the same, because it's one narrative that's being adopted by this whole publishing apparatus, and they don't really understand or can't seem to connect to stories that don't relate or don't center them, right, and the way they live. And that's the problem, right, with this more monopolized, concentrated publishing. And that's why you have to break that up. And don't get me wrong, not just in publishing, but in art and business and everything, right? The discussion about DEI is it goes so much further than any intersection that people can consider. And that's why I think it's just important to diversify everything, right? Diversity, inclusivity, and equality is those are not bad things by any means. And so it's one of those things that in the publishing sphere, I think I forget how predominant it is for one group to control it, and how draining and difficult that must be for the group that's entering. Never mind though that independent publishing is here to stay, and there's more people that are continuously building something worth building. But I guess for me, it's more the idea of as I read it, I feel more passionate about breaking those gatekeepers up, and really just building something worth building that also contradicts what they view as that is the day-to-day operations and business for a publisher. We have to break that up, and we have to redefine for ourselves what it is that we want to seek from publishing companies. And so all that reading is what prompted this video today. And I'm sure like a lot of folks, they're dealing with all kinds of stuff, you know what I mean? But like, it's the point that like, in order to have lasting change, like everything has to change, right? So like the media you consume has to change. The way we create that media needs to change. The way we talk about media needs to change, right? Like every aspect of what we understood was under the false pretense of like these preconceived notions that don't serve us anymore. And I think that we're in one of those moments of change. And like obviously I'm focusing more on the publishing aspect because that's what I'm up to, but like just overall, like there's so much that needs to change, and we're seeing that, right? Like we're living in a moment of change, and I'm here for it. But that's all I got for you guys today, man. As always, thank you so much for watching. There will be a link in the show notes to take you to feralpublication.com, where you guys get the stuff that I make. Beyond that, like, share, subscribe, and guess what? I do this daily, so I'll be back tomorrow. Lates.